Hello everyone, in this video, I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Moeed Pirzada to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Moeed Pirzada's words. I'm returning to this YouTube channel after 2 days. I will also explain to you where I had been missing, and there's also a note of protest. I have to register my protest with you, which I will present at the end of this video, so please try to watch and understand it. But first, let us turn to the developments. There are many developments before me, and with reference to Pakistan, they are extremely painful and distressing. When we look at the devastation caused by floods across Punjab, it is being said that this is one of the greatest floods in living memory. There are also some very interesting developments regarding Pakistan, India and China, particularly connected with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. Additionally, Pakistan's neighbouring brotherly Islamic country, Iran, is currently facing a very difficult moment. At this time, Iran is trapped in a complicated diplomatic juggernaut. On one side, Iran has mild support from Russia and China, but on the other, it is facing intense opposition and conspiracies from the US, European E3 countries and Israel. Together, they are once again pushing Iran towards war and a very dangerous situation. These are broad developments, within which there are also many subtopics. I will present these as well. It is often said in Pakistan that every flood is the biggest in history. As far back as I remember, and even from the times before I was born, there were floods in 1970, 1975, 1977, 1981, multiple floods in the 1980s, then in the 1990s, the terrifying floods of 2009 and 2010, and again in 2012 to 13. Later there was another one in 2017, or perhaps 2018. And in 2022, the year Imran Khan's government fell and Shahbaz Sharif came to power, the floods submerged Punjab and Sindh for several months. Shahbaz Sharif's government at that time tried to collect enormous amounts of international aid under the name of an environmental disaster. What's the bottom line? Given the region's topography, weather patterns and history, every 3 to 4 years, this region experiences a major flood. But you know, Pakistan's learning outcomes from these disasters remain negligible. If you study professional papers and documents, you'll see that India has prepared far better for floods compared to Pakistan. They have built many more barrages, dams, and their flood management system is far superior. In Pakistan, there is no such preparation and, well, the same cycle repeats. Relief efforts, appeals for donations, and diaspora communities being asked for funds. Apparently this time, Pakistan's North American, European and Middle Eastern diasporas have not responded as strongly. They feel it is the government's responsibility and many are disillusioned. For some facts and figures, Punjab's PDMA, which is the Provincial Disaster Management Authority, has said that nearly 2,000 villages have been submerged. Earlier reports suggested the Pakistan Army evacuated around 210,000 people after India had warned 24 to 36 hours earlier that a massive water flow was headed towards Pakistan. But now, PDMA reports that 1.5 million people have been displaced. Of the 2,000 submerged villages, around 1,200 are along the Chenab River, 500 along the Ravi and 400 along the Sutlej. Human casualties appear under 100 so far, though, you know, underreporting is possible. However, property damage and financial losses are enormous. Even parts of Lahore and surrounding areas have suffered billions of rupees in damages. Villagers have lost livestock, crops, stored wheat and livelihoods. Yet in Pakistani media, this disaster is being widely portrayed as India's conspiracy, claiming India deliberately released water to harm Pakistan. Even Dawn newspaper, usually seen as sober and balanced, published an editorial titled Weaponization of Water, alleging India failed to notify Pakistan under the Indus Waters Treaty and used water as a weapon. But you know, India has responded that Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir also face devastation, with damage to their own barrage on the Ravi River, which increased water flow into Pakistan. They insist nothing was done deliberately. In reality, whenever upper riparian dams face pressure, their gates are opened. This is not unique to India. Pakistan also does this with Mangla and Tarbela dams. For example, in the 1990s, heavy rains forced Mangla Dam's gates open, which destroyed the historic 1960s steel bridge between Mangla and Mirpur. Thus, there is no factual or scientific evidence that this flood was caused by deliberate Indian aggression. Instead, the real issue is that both countries lack adequate storage capacity and infrastructure to manage excess water. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the floodwaters are now said to be moving from Punjab towards Sindh. Official sources claim Punjab is out of danger, but private reports suggest the province still faces critical days ahead. Another controversy has emerged. A leaked video and audio of Aleem Khan and his wife show them boasting that their housing society remained safe, and even mocking PTI propaganda that it had drowned. Political drama ensued, with Khawaja Asif also involved, and attempts were made to falsely link Imran Khan to the housing project approvals. In truth, approvals and knocks had been given during Shahbaz Sharif's government, and Imran Khan had actually opposed such illegal constructions on riverbeds. Finally, there's an unusual viral clip making the rounds. A mysterious woman riding a bicycle in flood-hit Punjab, wearing glasses and a helmet, followed quite respectfully by police jeeps and female constables struggling to keep up. Many have compared the scene to the old 1970 Bollywood film Padosan, with its famous song where Saira Banu cycles with her friends. The difference here is, well, this woman cycles alone with a police escort behind her instead of friends. The poor people are walking in the rain, and this lady is riding a bicycle very happily. Now, who this lady is, we haven't yet been able to find out. Perhaps she is the famous Bahi, the elder sister of Dr. Shahbaz Gill, whom he affectionately calls Baji, but no, I couldn't find out exactly who this lady is. Now let's look at an interesting situation. On one side, Pakistan's Form 47 Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, and on the other side, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Both, I believe, are on planes at this very moment heading in different directions, but ultimately arriving at Tianjin, a city in China, where the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, summit is taking place. The SCO has 10 member states, among which both India and Pakistan are included. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif is flying in from Islamabad, while India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is arriving from Japan. He had been in Japan for 2 days to attend the India-Japan summit, and on the last day he visited a Japanese city known for its highly sophisticated semiconductor manufacturing industry. India is interested in developing its semiconductor industry, and Modi was there to observe, meet the business community and hold talks. Now he is flying from Japan, while Shahbaz Sharif is flying from Islamabad, both heading to the same summit. Around 20 heads of state are expected to attend from South Asia, Asia, Central Asia, the Middle East, and also Russian President Vladimir Putin. So this is a very big and important summit. Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has tweeted extensively, saying he will meet President Xi, meet other leaders, and engage with the business community. Up to this point, everything seems quite normal. The summit is scheduled for August 31 and September 1 in Tianjin, China. What makes it significant is not the media coverage of Pakistan's Prime Minister, which is limited only to Pakistan with almost no coverage worldwide, but the fact that China, Russia and India are all coming together at one point. This has great significance. Just a few hours ago, I recorded a discussion with Steve Hanker, a world-renowned economics professor at Johns Hopkins University. He said this is a very important, pivotal moment, China, Russia and India together at the same place, especially after former US President Donald Trump, in his short-sightedness, placed pressure on all three countries. Another interesting event, on September 3rd, there will be a military parade in China to commemorate the Second World War, which the Chinese and Russians call the War Against Fascism. Both countries had fought against fascist Nazi forces. This is the 80th anniversary of that victory, and a huge military parade is planned. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif will stay for this event. President Putin will also remain, along with many other leaders. However, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will not stay for the parade. He will depart. Why? At first it seemed like he wasn't invited or wasn't considered important enough. But the reality is different. China tried very hard to persuade him to stay. The reasons he refused are twofold. First, the parade essentially celebrates China's victory against Japan in World War II. Since Modi was just in Japan, and India's relations with Japan are strategically important, he avoided participating out of sensitivity toward Japan. Millions of Chinese had been killed under brutal Japanese aggression during that era, and the parade is essentially anti-Japan in spirit. Thus, out of respect for Japan, Modi chose not to stay. Second, Modi does not want India to appear too closely aligned with China, which could upset Western allies and also provoke criticism from India's domestic opposition. India's relations with China are not yet normalized, and a gesture like this could create political backlash at home, so Modi will not remain for the parade. That is his cautious approach. But regarding Pakistan, the situation is more intriguing. The current Sharif Zardari Asim regime has, on one hand, engaged Trump in various stories, real estate, cryptocurrency, rare earth metals, Nobel Prizes and so on, and on the other hand is also strengthening ties with China. It's a balancing act. General Asim Munir has even publicly said in Brussels and Washington that Pakistan has specialized in balancing between China and the US. But how long this balancing act can continue remains to be seen. For now, they are managing it. Let's see what happens ahead. Now let's turn to Pakistan's neighbor Iran. At the moment, Iran is caught in a real nutcracker situation. Just a day ago, Iran readmitted UN IAEA inspectors into the country, but so far no cooperative framework has been agreed upon for their work. Negotiations are still ongoing. Meanwhile, the so-called E3, that's Britain, France and Germany, issued a statement after a United Nations closed-door meeting. They've given Iran a one-month deadline and a pretty stern warning. If Iran fulfills three conditions, snapback sanctions under the 2015 JCPOA nuclear deal can be avoided for 6 months. Now, the three conditions are as follows. First, begin full cooperation with the IAEA, including allowing inspectors. Second, clearly disclose how much enriched uranium and nuclear stock Iran currently has. And third, reopen nuclear negotiations directly with the United States. Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, however, rejected these demands outright, calling them ridiculous and insisting that these conditions should be outcomes of negotiations, not preconditions. Steve Hanker warned in my interview that, starting from September onwards, the risk of war involving the United States and Israel against Iran could rise significantly. He also pointed out that Pakistan may have a role here, since there are reports suggesting the Trump administration discussed with Pakistan the possibility of providing bases against Iran, and Pakistan's army chiefs' frequent, rather happy visits to the United States in recent weeks may not be coincidental. Meanwhile, Russia and China, who are Iran's allies, have also presented a softer draft proposal, suggesting that Iran be given 6 months to negotiate further without sanctions, just to allow some breathing space. Iran is under immense pressure, though many people do not realize the scale of the war it is fighting and the level of sanctions and hostility from the Western Zionists. Some in Pakistan and the Arab world, due to sectarian biases, don't sympathize with Iran, but the reality is Iran is enduring enormous hardship. Now, I must register a protest. I put immense effort into arranging interviews with major intellectuals. Recently, I recorded a very important discussion with Mustafa Akyol, a Turkish philosopher, writer and author of Reopening Muslim Minds. This book was actually among those given to Imran Khan in jail just a few days ago, as seen in published photos. I persuaded Mustafa Akyol to do this interview for Pakistani viewers. It was a deep, substantial discussion about Islamic intellectual history and Muslim thought. People from all over the world, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States and the Middle East, have messaged me about it. But unfortunately, only about 3,000 people have watched it so far. Such low viewership discourages intellectuals from joining platforms like this. In the United States, there is no shortage of such platforms, but each one reflects its own lens. My effort is to present global issues, bigger than just Pakistan, from a Pakistani perspective. But our audience often restricts itself to sensational political news, PTI, fights, drama, and ignores substantive intellectual discussions. So I request you again, watch the Mustafa Akyol interview, support it so that we can bring him again for a panel discussion. I haven't yet uploaded the Steve Hanker interview because I want to give more time for Akyol's discussion to be seen. YouTube's algorithm reduces visibility of previous videos once a new one is uploaded. So please, watch this important discussion. It is a beautiful, substantive exploration of Muslim history and thought. That wraps up our translation of Moeed Pirzada's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.